Hey people, it's Dragon. The Dragon speaks for you. Think you know, that's with a number 4 and a letter U. Put a Gmail on that. That's my email. And there's quite a few videos on YouTube. Um, at Dragon Speaks for You, and doing some editing and some other things. I found out how to do some stuff. I told you I was learning at it, so found out how to do some editing and some other things to make it easier and more access, get more viewers, things like that for you, be easier to get to. Um, I've got this is a second part, actually, number 2, part 2 of a shocking revelation. Okay. And actually, this one here should have a subtitle called The Simplicity or The Complexity in the Simplicity. Okay, and you'll see why in just a bit. So where we left off on part 1 is where Christ was crucified. He died. He went. He left. He said, "I'm got to go to come back and be with you all," and he meant in the spirit. So we received this spirit, and if you believe, if you believe in the Spirit, the Holy Spirit, and the Spirit within you, that's what He's with us all now. We have access if we believe and if we develop those powers um, in the Spirit, then we're able to uh, access our spiritual gifts. Okay, as the Word says. Now I know the Bible. Some of you say, "Well, that's the Bible," and then men wrote it, and yada yada yada. All this other stuff. I've heard it all, and you know what? You're right. And I'll give you some clues for those that don't know. A couple of stats on that also that goes along with it. It's uh, the Bible was written, at least a couple of hundred years after uh, the death of Christ. So, men wrote it, but it was, spiritually inspired. But there were men that passed it on and had these stories from people that were actually there with him. So, we got to take it and kind of read between the lines on it. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of it that's been twisted, has been turned, and there was a lot of politics. Come in the uh, third century in there, and uh, where Constantine got involved and started the Catholic Church and all of this. So there was a lot. There was a lot of politics involved. That was a political move there, actually, and but we won't get into that right now. Uh, so anyway, for those who believe, even those that don't, I want to give you something. It's not. This is more teachy, not preachy. Okay, so it kind of makes sense if you believe there's something bigger in you, then you're about more than just this flesh. So I think this will be enlightening to you and give you a better perspective or a different perspective even to where it'll open your eyes to something because it makes sense. So um, I want to try something. I've got a board now for an illustration. It'll help me on this. I've been waiting on it, so it helped me on this to illustrate a little better what I'm talking about. So if this is the case, and Jesus, okay, Jesus is the power in the Spirit. Brought us the Holy Spirit, the Spirit within us, and He says He lives within us. Okay, uh, we're not waiting on this entity coming on the clouds and all of this, and heaven above and all this is, even in the prayer it says heaven on earth, and the heaven on earth is within us. Okay, we carry heaven within us, and it's all in what we do. How we can make it hell or heaven, while we're here. And what we experience in the spirit, what we experience in life, and I think the results. And this is what I believe. I think the results of it, as far as what we pick up, as far as knowledge and wisdom through the years, I believe it feeds our soul. Um, we're guided by the spirit to do one thing, but our flesh guides us to do another thing. So there's a constant battle within us. Uh, and if the power is within us, and we do have that power, how come we have all these problems and we can't solve them? Okay, or there's so many problems that to this day, it's constant, this constant barrage of you know negatives and even positives, but it's just all of this. We get fed all this stuff constantly. So a lot of people are walking around in confusion, and they just kind of throw everything and say, you know what, I'm just going to walk and live my life. Okay, but that's a good thing in a way. But excuse me, but you want to be able to believe in something. If you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything. Okay. And right now, there's a lot of darkness out there. You've seen my videos, and I attack that stuff, because it's attacking people, it's attacking me, it's constant, it's nonstop. They don't want us to wake up, people. They don't want us to wake up to the power that we have. This is the bottom line, okay? It's not. Uh, people don't understand. A lot of people don't understand what is it this darkness is after. What is it after? Well, it's after us. It's after anything it can take from you in the carnal, and anything it can take from you in the spiritual. It wants you completely. It wants your energy. It needs to grow and feed, and that's what it does. It grows and feeds off the negative energy. Okay, so if it can bring you down to where you're walking around, in anger, and you're walking around all the time, and you're going off all the time and on your loved ones or people or whatever, and we all do it. I mean, it's I mean, one of my perfect helpers, which she's put here for that, is my wife. She she would always correct me, catch me on that, and not have to catch myself. I didn't like it, but she was right. I got to just chill out a little bit, and sometimes we can't catch ourselves, so it happens to all of us. But um, so anyway, I want to kind of illustrate something. You know, uh, we make it so complex. People say, "Well, it's so complicated. Everything's so complicated." Well, it's how we're looking at it. You know what I mean? So if you look at this board, okay, this is basically life. Okay, basically life. It's probably kind of hard for you to see, but I'll explain it to you. Okay, this is basically life. Okay, just bear with me. Okay, and up here we have, I have the complexity in the simplicity. Okay, now you'll understand what I'm saying here, what I mean by that. Okay, all this complexity, we deal with complexity all the time. Okay, and this is what frustrates us a lot of times, because we have work, we have the kids, we have the family, we have our spouses, we have our wife, we have our husband, we have our family, the elders, we have the grandkids, we have work, and then we have all this outside coming at us, things that happen, all these negative things. Maybe you have a car crash, or whatever. All these things that happen in life, all these things add up, and there's all these complexities that we have to manage through all the time, and it tends to be uh, overwhelming sometimes. And I understand, we all suffer with that at times, but it's all in the way you look at it. So this darkness is looking for you to be at that low vibration, okay? And it makes it worse because then it comes in and attacks you, okay? And it can attack and attach these spells or whatever, any other way they want to attack you. You're an easy prey. It makes you an easy prey and victim. It makes you a victim, because they don't want you. They don't want you leveled up. They don't want you up here because you'll see them coming, and you can fight them. Okay, so look, let's do it this way. Okay, so let's say you've got all these problems. We'll make all these little quills like a porcupine. It's our problems. Okay, try to individualize uh, yourself. This is you. Whoever's watching, this is you. Okay, and you have all these problems you're dealing with, constant. And it could be tomorrow, last year, or 20 years ago, or all your life. You have all these problems you're dealing with. But the problem is, okay, the problem is you're dealing with these things out here, and you're trying to get to the answer. You're trying to get to the answer. The answer is our peace, okay? And you know this. There's a place that I could get to. I know there is. I can feel it that it's within me, okay? But I can't reach it because I'm busy over here, busy over there, busy over there, busy over here, busy, busy all the time. And every time I start, something else comes in, busy all the time. So then I have to work myself out of that. I have to work myself out of this and work. So how do I get to it? So we're so busy trying to get to the place of peace, the place of power, and the place with the answers. Okay. Now, the Lord told us our spirit. He gave us a spirit of sound mind, no fear, and power. That's what we want to get to. Every time I try to reach it, I'm so busy. I can't do this because I've got all these things I'm dealing with all the time, every day, every night, 24/7. Okay. There's different things coming up, positive and negative. They're positive and negative. They just work against a certain path you're trying to go to, and they're detours. Okay. Look at them that way. He says he's the way, the truth, and the life. We want to get to that because if that's true, he says that the way he guides you the way to the truth, which sets you free, and it gives you the life accessible to the life, a better life. Okay, so that's what we want to reach. This right here, this center is what we want to reach. Okay, and we're beating our brains out here on this exterior, trying to get through to these. And okay, I'll wipe some of these out. I got through these. Okay, I got through these problems. I got through these problems. I got through these problems. I'm working my way in. Okay, that's it. I'm making progress. I'm working my way in. Now I got to solve all these so I can get to this. We're so busy doing that. You know, trying to solve all these so we can get to this. Well, in this perspective, okay, look at it this way. Why don't we concentrate and put all that energy? Just think of all that energy you're using out here, trying to get through all these. And meanwhile, while you've made progress, you got a couple more hitting every once in a while. So they're coming back and filling up that space that you just cleared out. Okay. Because it's nonstop, right? So, you figure this way. This is the way I figure it. And I finally came to this realization early in my life, but it's still work. Okay. But it made it a lot simpler. So this is all complexity. It's so complex, That's the complexity that we strive with. So why not? Okay. Forget all that. And let's start with the answer. Why don't we take all that energy and put it towards the answer. Okay? Let's start from here. It makes so much more sense. This is the answer. This is the power. Remember? Here's the power right here. He says we got no power. I mean, we got power. We have no fear, and we have sound mind. That right there are the three factors we need to solve all these things, right? So why don't we start and concentrate, put our concentration and our energy here in the answer, okay? The power for the answers. And from here, work this way, okay? And work this way, and work this way, and start solving them from the with the power of no fear and sound mind, and work from the center with the power behind us. You understand? Which makes it a lot easier because now we have the power with the answers, the way, the truth, and the life. And it seems a lot simpler to me that to attack these things, all these problems or issues or whatever they may be, it could be personal, it could be trauma, they could be traumatizing stuff that you dealt with in your personal life, in your mind, with your children, with you, with around your family, whatever it may be. But deep issues, because some of these are heavy and important. The rest are smaller, but some of them you really want to get rid of them first because they're holding you back. Well, why don't we attack those with the power of sound mind, okay? And that power of sound mind and no fear. Why don't we attack those? See, from the inside with the power behind us. You understand? Instead of coming from the outside. That's what makes it so complicated. That's what makes it so frustrating because we're dealing with so much. Okay? That one time, there's so much, and then it keeps piling on. It doesn't stop. So instead of that, let's go from the inside with the power. Let's concentrate here and get our belief up, get our belief and our strength up and our frequency up and get our vibrations leveled out where we got power, baby. We can come from here and then go and answer that. Man, we just crossed that out. It might take a bunch of them out. It might take a chunk of them out. It might take a chunk. You hear what I'm saying? Instead of one at a time, it might take a, they all coincide, right? There's a lot of problems off of one issue that come because of one issue. So with the power behind us and coming from that perspective, from that perspective, I mean, it makes sense to me. It just makes sense to me that it's a lot better now. Now I can attack and come at one of these issues, and it just might take, because there's so much power there that I can wipe out a whole chunk of them. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Because I've done it. I mean, I've done it, so I know it works. I mean, and I take care of one problem, and at the same time, because of my belief and how strong I believe, it all depends on how strong you believe. It wipes out a chunk of them. I've wiped out a good mess of my problems to where it opens up other doors where you can expand. You can expand and you raise in frequency. That's how you do it. That's how you do it. And this is one of the ways you can do it. And I think this illustration shows a little better that your complexity that you're worried about is in the simplicity. This is the simplicity right there. You're trying to get to the simplicity, fighting all this complexity. Well, let's just, cut all that out and let's go right to the simplicity and attack the complexity. Does that make sense? I think it makes sense to me. We'll go from the simplicity outward to the complexity. Instead of the complexity beating our brains out trying to get to the simplicity of it, because we know that's where it's at. We know that's where it's at. The answers are. So why don't we start where we know the power's at? You see what I mean? Why don't we start where we know the power's at and attack that complexity from the view of the simplicity. Okay, I think it worked a lot better for us. I put it in practice myself, and it started many years ago, and it works. I mean, we slack off. I know I slacked off, and they pile on again. But that's on me. That's my fault. That's my bad. You know what I mean? So we're stubborn. You hear what I'm saying? This flesh is stubborn. This flesh wants to do this and do that, and you know, people, a lot of people walk around with blinders also that, their life is so great. And I, you know, I'm happy for them. But, if you're not aware, that sucker can sneak in, that negative can sneak in at any time, and you won't know what to do, you see? So we got to stay strong on it. And, like I said, we all get weak. And we make mistakes. And, some are bigger than others, but, we're still kicking. We're still kicking, and let's not let it consume us. You know what I mean? It can tear up relationships, and then we got to battle our way out, and a lot of mental stress. There's a lot of heartbreak, and, I know I've been through it, and it takes a while, and you got to really get into deep with the spirit and get those answers inside. You get them, yeah, you can kneel down and pray, but when you do, concentrate on what you're praying. Quit going external. It's in you already. Okay, pray to the heaven within you. Because the answers are within you, and it will feed your mind to where it'll give you discernment. It'll give you the foresight, to follow through and what you got to do. And sometimes we don't agree, and it's a battle, because we're battling the flesh. Well, I don't know if I should do that, and I don't want to do that, but that's actually what you need to do. And sometimes we're battling ourselves. Okay, so we make it complex ourselves. I mean, I know I do. I'm one of the worst, to tell you the truth, because I'm stubborn. Okay. And there's a lot of us that are stubborn, and we got to fight that stubbornness. That tenacity is good. That tenacity is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. Don't get me wrong. But, that tenacity can hold you back also. Okay. So we got to be careful. But that tenacity is good for when you see it, and you see it solid, and you have to stand, and that tenacity helps you do that. So let's not get it wrong. That's a good thing. It's a gift. It's actually a gift, but we can use it wrong if we don't watch it and we're not aware, okay, of what we're doing. So I think this will kind of open some eyes today, to where, hey, that makes a little bit of sense. I think, yeah, and just strengthen your belief. If you straighten your belief, and get into the simplicity. It's real simple, and then let's go at it with the power. Gain your power first, then you have something to battle with. You know what I mean? Instead of out here on the outside, man, it's all complexity. You know what I'm saying? You're dealing with all the complexity. Just, it's like almost you're fighting it alone. You have no power. You have no weapons. You know what I mean? Here's all your weapons are within in here, in the simplicity, to go at the complexity instead of the complexity trying to get to the simplicity, if that makes sense. But like I said, I think it does. It makes sense for me, and I put it to practice, and it was hard because I had to fight a lot of stubbornness in myself. I had to fight a lot of doubts. I had to fight a lot of wannabe unbeliefs. I had to fight a lot of beliefs. So I had to unbelieve some and believe others, okay? Because there was a lot that we've been lied to a lot, folks. And I agree with you. I agree with a lot of you, I've been through it. And I'm just telling you straight. I'm being straight up with you. You know, I'm not going to sit there and try to be, you know, I don't know. I don't even like the words, but, religious. You know what I mean? I don't like that word. I don't even call myself a Christian. I'm a believer. You know what I mean? I'm a believer. Because it's gotten so bad now. Everything is a religion, and it's just so much, that complexity in there is ridiculous to me. And I know what I feel. I know what the Spirit tells me, and it's so strong that I can't fight it. It's things that I cannot fight. Like when you just know, and there's nobody can talk you out of it. I mean, there's certain things. I know a lot of you can feel what I'm saying. There's just certain things. I mean, the sky is blue, and you're going to try to convince me it's not. Well, that's what I see. It must be with your colors, something, because I see it blue, and you can't talk me out of it. You know, uh, you can't talk me away from it to believe something else, and that's kind of along the lines I'm talking about. So when and you finally get that power, and and you've used it, and it works, and it's there, and you feel it, and it feeds you, and you get this information. I mean, there's no way to prove it. There's no way to prove it to people. So what do? Yeah, I mean, there's people that call you crazy because well, I've got this download, I've got this message. That's something you got to deal with, because a lot of people come up to me and said, tell me the Lord told me to tell you, and that's funny because my phone's not off the hook. You know what I mean? My phone's not off the hook, and my fax machine works, and you know what I'm saying? My computer's on. Uh, how come I didn't get the memo? You'd think he'd talk to me and tell me about it. He wants me to do that. So, but he's had me do some funny things. I'm telling you, and I had to question it. You know what I mean? It's like kind of like in the middle of the night. I'm just using this for because I think the Spirit's got a sense of humor. I really do. It's funny. Sometimes we just go rounds, man. We go rounds. You know what I mean? It's like I'm arguing to myself, but I'm not. I know better. So, it's kind of like it's sitting there going, okay, hey, come here a second. Archangel Michael or something. Come here, man, watch this. I want to make him get up in the middle of the night, go check the air pressure in his tires. Watch, I'm just using that as a thing. But funny stuff, weird stuff, sometimes. And I said, okay, I'm going down the street one time, and I give to these homeless all the time. I wait for the Lord to give me the Spirit to tell me. I don't just hand out. It's the Spirit will tell me, and then I have to go do it because it won't leave me alone. Go give that guy $2, or go give that guy $5, or whatever. And sometimes it's like, man, but I passed this guy up, right, and I went down the road. I mean, probably 2 miles, because I'm going. I'm past it already, and I kept driving, and the Spirit wouldn't leave me alone. It wasn't like guilt or nothing like that. Oh God, man, I feel terrible. No, it wasn't like that. It's like, turn around, go back, and give that man $5. It's like, well, how about how about a couple of dollars? No, $5. It's so clear when it happens, people. It's just I can't explain it. So finally, like 2 miles down the road, I'm okay, so I finally found a place to turn around. I go back, and this guy, it's the elation in his eyes, and from that, because it must have been needed way beyond what I thought, because it was just, oh my God, down to tears, because he must have needed it that bad. And I gave it to him and says, the Lord said, I have to give you this. So, and then I left. But, another one, I was driving down the street, and I couldn't stop because there was a lot of traffic, right? So my wife was with me, and I'm reaching in and I'm trying to get the money. She already knows what I'm doing. She gets on me all the time. She already knows. She don't even have to look or ask me what I'm doing. So she asked, she just, I can see her looking at me, and I'm driving and trying to reach in my pocket at the same time, get the bills. And a lot of times I hand it to her. Say, give me a couple of dollars out of there. But, I pulled it out, and I was driving, and I'm watching the traffic, and I'm trying to pull out. Well, I had a 20 and some ones in there. Well, I pulled out a few ones, and I had the 20 in there too, and I stuck them out the window because I had to drive. I couldn't stop. I was just going to drop the $2 bills out. Well, as I passed by, and the wind caught it and took it. Well, I come back with the $2, and the 20 went out. I look back in the mirror, he's picking it up. And, for a second I thought, I got to go back and get that 20, man, but it wouldn't let me. Spirit said, are you crazy? You're actually going to do that? And I thought, no, I can't do that, man. That must have been the way the Spirit wanted it. He must have needed that. And I have to believe that, because not just because I lost $20. I don't look at it that way. It's seed, and down the road, I'll receive, double or triple or quadruple that, so I always think that way. And it happens, it happens. I gave $100 at a church one time, and I didn't want to do that. It's like, man, these guys, but the Spirit told me, give $100, so I did, and walking out the church, I looked down and I seen a roll, and I looked down and I picked it up. It was two $100 bills. So it come back double to me, so, I mean, I don't know. You can call it a coincidence if you want. I don't believe that's what it is. The blessings are there, and I just know I just know what I know. So anyway, folks, I want to cut this short, and I hope this helps you out. Just remember, the complexity is in the simplicity, and the simplicity is within us, which helps us battle the complexity. And we make a lot of things complex ourselves. They're not as big as we look at it. Our problems sometimes they're not as big as we see, or we think. Real quick, I had a little thing with my daughter one time, and she was having many years ago, I forgot what it was. She was having some kind of problem at school or something. I can't, it's at school, but I can't remember what it was. But anyway, I used an illustration, and my son they had little toys, the army toys. And I said, come here, honey, come here. I couldn't explain. I said, this is the way the dark works, the devil, the darkness. This is the way he works, okay? I said, watch. And she was small, and I said, come here. And I set it on the table. I said, see this little soldier here? I said, now watch. And I went and got a lamp, and I took the shade off. I put the light bulb behind it. And, I turned off all the lights, and I put the light bulb behind this. And I said, look at that wall over there. I said, look at that wall over there. Look at the soldier on the wall. And on the wall, that thing was 12 feet high. It was huge. And I said, the devil tells you, and I got in her ear, and I said, the devil tells you that's your problem. Look at it. And it looks big and scary. And he doesn't want you to turn around and see what it really is. I said, now you turn around and look at what it really is. And it's a little soldier. I said, now take your finger and just flick it off the desk. And she did. And I said, see, a lot of problems, that's how easy they are. It's just he makes them complicated. Okay? The darkness makes them complicated in your mind, so that you're scared, so that you walk in fear. Okay? And maybe that illustration right there will help a little bit. That story will help a little bit too, but it's true. So people, I love you, man, and I'll see you next time. That you know what this means, right? Do you? Till next time.